For the modern audiophile, the transition from physical media to file-based playback is rarely a clean break. Quite honestly, it can feel like a bit of a compromise. We're told the future is largely in the cloud, yet many of us still hold on to hundreds, if not thousands, of Redbook CDs, physical tokens of a lifetime of musical curation. Leaving them to collect dust in a closet or getting rid of them entirely just feels wrong. Conceived as a multi-talented utility player, the Aurender ACS100 is designed to bridge the gap between legacy physical collections and digital streaming. It acts as a digital server, a streamer, a metadata editor, and an error-corrected CD ripping engine. Instead of forcing you to piece together a complex computer-based setup or manage a noisy network-attached storage drive, Aurender positions this unit as a quiet, central anchor for your digital ecosystem. But at $4,000, does it offer the practical everyday convenience and fidelity that a high-quality audio system demands? Let's find out. To understand what the ACS100 brings to the table, it helps to look at its original design brief. The backstory is that it was designed and developed primarily as a sidecar accessory to Aurender's higher-end models through a feature called ACS Connection. In a multi-Aurender setup, it functions as a central library server, sharing a single storage repository across your network. This offloads storage duties and library management away from the primary transport, reducing its CPU overhead and keeping flagships like the N50 in an electrically quiet environment. Even though its design brief prioritized ripping and storing, if you plan to use the ACS100 as your standalone streamer too, it's no slouch. Within the 11-pound machine aluminum chassis, the hardware is highly focused. It runs a low-power, high-efficiency Intel quad-core CPU backed by 8 GB of system memory. By selecting a low-draw processor, Aurender minimizes internal current draw, helping to keep the noise floor low at the source. For storage, 2 rear sliding trays accommodate user-installable 2.5-inch drives for up to 16 terabytes of quiet internal storage. Physical connectivity remains concentrated. A double isolated gigabit LAN port helps filter out network-borne noise. The front panel USB 3.0 port handles convenient data transfers, though any available port can interface with external hardware. And the dedicated USB Audio Class 2.0 output features shielded circuitry to protect the data stream, though it lacks galvanic isolation, a practical cost-saving measure implemented to meet this price point. Hitting this price point and keeping the unit compact means the ACS100 also utilizes an external switch mode power supply rather than a massive internal linear supply, and it limits its output options strictly to USB. Where the ACS100 excels is in its archiving capabilities. For small jobs, the internal slot-loading TIAC optical drive handles error-corrected rips to FLAC, WAVE, or AF with one touch. For larger library grooming, you'll use the companion ACS Manager app. The app's interface is relatively intuitive for entering missing metadata, and manually adding album art is handled smoothly. The software automatically calls up the iPad's built-in camera, letting you snap a photo of the jacket before the app automatically crops the image to fit. Note that the ACS Manager app is available exclusively on iPads and M1 generation or newer Mac computers. For major archival projects, the unit offers native compatibility with the Acronova NIMBY USB Plus autoloader. You simply plug the autoloader into an available USB port, open the ACS Manager app, and load your disks into the hopper. While the NIMBY is built to accommodate up to 100 disks, it's recommended to stick with stacks of about 50 at a time to prevent them from sticking together. The NIMBY acts as the active disk reader for this process, while the ACS100 manages the automated workflow, applying advanced error correction and sourcing metadata entirely hands-free. Regarding high-resolution formats, the ACS100 plays files up to native DSD 512 and 32-bit 384 kHz PCM through its USB output. However, its physical archiving engine is optimized specifically for Redbook CD format. When you insert a hybrid SACD, the drive will read and rip the standard 16-bit 44.1 kHz CD layer rather than the encrypted high-density layer. While it won't replace a specialized computer workaround for SACD extraction, its real strength lies in how efficiently it handles standard physical libraries. To achieve its maximum potential while streaming means operating the ACS100 from the dedicated Aurender Conductor app, rather than a platform like Roon. Aurender Conductor 5 is available for Android and all iOS devices, as well as Mac desktops, again featuring the M1 and newer processors. I found the Conductor app to land near the top when compared with other manufacturers' purpose-built software. Like the ACS Manager app, navigation is relatively intuitive, and metadata retrieval is thorough, even pulling in full PDFs of liner notes when available. It's highly customizable, which means getting comfortable with the options takes some time up front, but it rewards you with a pleasant, stable user experience. Staying inside this native software lane has a clear effect on performance because Aurender's solid-state caching engine is exclusive to the Conductor app ecosystem. In this native playback pipeline, the track is preloaded from storage or the streaming service server onto a dedicated 240 gigabyte NVMe solid-state cache drive. Once cached, your primary drives spin down, reducing mechanical vibration and electrical overhead. If you bypass this pipeline to treat the ACS100 as a Roon-ready endpoint, caching too is bypassed. The unit instead acts as a real-time pass-through receiver, keeping the network card and processing loops continuously active. This technical distinction explains what I heard. Compared to other streamers I've heard, the ACS100 provided the most noticeable sonic improvement when serving music directly from its purpose-built app, compared to streaming those same local files from an external Roon server. A similar trend emerged with cloud streaming. Pulling Qobuz files through the native Conductor app delivered a clear improvement in sound quality compared to using the service's native Connect feature or routing it through Roon. I've spent time listening to fellow reviewer Tom Martin's system, which features the higher tier Aurender N20. My bringing this up isn't meant to pose a head-to-head comparison. The balance of Tom's system is superior to mine, and a direct performance comparison would be inaccurate. However, on that machine, the sonic difference based on the app controlling it is far more subtle. On the ACS100, the delta is wider. This greater sensitivity to the software pathway likely points back to those hardware compromises mentioned earlier. Because the ACS100 utilizes an external switch mode power supply and lacks galvanic isolation on its USB output, the chassis is more susceptible to the electrical noise generated by continuous processing loops. Using the Conductor app allows those internal subsystems to quiet down, compensating for the simpler hardware architecture by eliminating noise at the software level. On a flagship like the N20, which garners a price 4 times that of the ACS100, robust linear power regulation and physical isolation minimize these noise vectors from the start. This exercise confirmed for me that staying within the native Conductor lane is the clear key to optimizing the hardware's performance. Before getting into how it sounded, here's a rundown of the equipment I used for the review. The ACS100 served as my digital transport, handing these signals off to a T+A DAC 200. I conducted my analysis by listening through 2 integrated amplifiers, my Cambridge Audio EVO 150 and my Hegel H190V. Speaker duties alternated between a pair of Golden Ear BRX stand mounts and my SVS Ultra Evolution Pinnacle floor standers. AudioQuest cables were implemented throughout the entire signal path. Moving into how the ACS sounded, skeptics of digital audio often argue that bits are bits, that as long as a server delivers a stream of ones and zeros to an external digital analog converter, The transport itself shouldn't alter the sonic profile. But in practice, high-quality digital audio playback is rarely that simple. Jitter, electrical noise, and network packet timing can pass a heavier workload off to your DAC and influence how it performs, sometimes manifesting as high-frequency hash, a slightly compressed soundstage, or a subtle layer of structural grain. With that said, when I sat down to listen with the ACS100 in my system, one trait worth a note was its ability to extract low-level detail. A track that solidified this for me was Anna von Hauswolf's The Whole Woman, off her 2025 album Iconoclasts. This piece opens with a handful of gentle cymbal taps, and even at that hushed level, there was a timbral richness that presented the cymbals definitively. That composure carried through the treble region, which was generally well constructed and resolved. Dynamics were impressive as well. A piece that's dynamically impressive in its own right is the 1983 Telarc recording of Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor, performed by Michael Murray. It's one of Telarc's early all-digital recordings, captured to a SoundStream digital master with no compression, limiting, or EQ anywhere in the chain. So the organ's full dynamic swing reaches you intact, leaving a network transport nowhere to hide. The ACS100 transparently rendered that dynamic richness in all its glory, and time and again, that drew me deeper into the music. That same ability to surface low-level detail served the spatial presentation too. With the spatial cues rendered in full, I came away with a strong sense of the sound space the performers occupied, a believable feel for the air and dimension around them. The soundstage itself was well composed, each performer appropriately positioned across it. If I'm splitting hairs, there were moments where the precise placement edged towards sounding segmented rather than knitting into a single unified whole, but this effect was faint, and it never pulled me out of the music at all. Furthermore, when comparing a bit-perfect local CD rip stored internally on the ACS against the identical master streamed live from Qobuz, the local file tends to edge ahead in focus and liquidity. While the stream version is excellent, the locally stored file displays a slightly tighter grip on low-end frequencies and a bit more depth in the acoustic space, suggesting that eliminating continuous network overhead yields real sonic dividends. For instances where you want a purist experience, enabling Aurender's critical listening mode provides a final, subtle refinement. This mode deactivates the front panel display, turns off the LEDs, and kills all non-essential background computational tasks. The sonic result is subtle but welcome, like cleaning a window that already looked clean, leaving a presentation marked by excellent transparency and rhythmic drive. The Aurender ACS100 is a capable, pragmatic piece of kit, and after living with it, what stuck with me was how cleanly it handles the job it set out to do. For a lot of us, our music lives in two worlds at once, scattered across streaming services on one hand and stacked on physical shelves on the other. And the ACS100's real talent is pulling those worlds together into a single cohesive component. As a transport, it earns its keep too. Fed into a capable DAC, it brings real low-level detail and dynamic life to the music. And it does so with a level of refinement that feels right at home at this price. So if you're after one well-built box to anchor your digital front end, uniting what you stream and what you own, then handing it off cleanly to a DAC you love, the ACS100 is well worth a listen. Thanks for sticking around while I shared my experience with the ACS100 in my system. Go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell. And if you made it this far, you might also consider subscribing to our print magazine. There's a link in the description. And don't forget to make listening fun again.